Welcome to the Into the Cypher podcast. It is your host, Cypher Da MC, the Muhammad Ali of MCs, the Bronx Don himself. We made it through another week, people. We made it through another week, so here's what we're going to do. Turn my mic up. Hopefully everyone is having a good day. Hopefully you had a good week. If you didn't, hopefully this episode helps you kind of get everything sorted. You regroup and come back, God willing, do it all over again. So, you know what today's episode is. You know, man, DJ's on point, isn't he? But you know what today's episode is about. It's an extension of a previous episode, but I'm gonna get into that for a second. So, but I wanted to. Hopefully everyone has a good day so far, and I know you could have been doing something else right now. You could have been doing whatever right now, but you know what? I appreciate you. You know what? You could have been anywhere else in the world, but you're here with me. I appreciate that. Shout out to Jay-Z. But we better get into our disclaimers before we get into anything. So bear with me. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
Nope.
I'm not a relationship expert, a family therapist, sex therapist, or anything of the sort. I don't have any, masters or doctorates on my wall from Columbia. I am just a regular Joe Schmo. Just a regular guy giving you the benefit of his experience and also just helping us to look at things from a different perspective on this journey called life that we're on. And I say we because I'm on this journey with you. That's going to hopefully help us be the best version of ourselves. So now that we got our disclaimers out the way, this episode is about me time. Me time. Now, it may sound selfish to some people. It may sound, ludicrous or whatever, or, I have so many people depending on me. I have so many things to do, and, there's really no time for myself. And as I mentioned earlier, this is kind of an extension of a previous episode that I've done. I believe it's episode 44, and when I say it's okay to be selfish for you. And just to recap that episode in a nutshell, what I was basically saying was it's okay for you to be selfish for yourself, because if you are the driving force, if you are the catalyst that kind of makes everything else go, anything that you're a part of can only be as good as you are. You can't be at a certain level and then expect what you're doing to be astronomically much higher unless you yourself are at an astronomical level. Then you can elevate anything and everyone else around you. So in a nutshell, that's kind of like what the episode was about, and this is merely an extension of that. Me time. What is me time? I mean, depending on who you are, it could vary, of course. And like I said, I like to use myself as an example only because I want everyone to know that, again, I'm on this journey with you. It's not a matter of, I'm preaching from a soapbox, or, he hasn't been through what I went through. Our experiences may be different, but they also may be similar in a lot of aspects. So, I myself, I'm not an avid traveler. I really didn't start traveling, so to speak, until 2017, just prior to COVID, really. I went on my first cruise in 2017, and I was scared. I was like, hey, I can't swim. I don't know why the fear of doing something that we've never done before comes out before we actually acknowledge the possibilities of having any possibility of a good time doing whatever it is and stuff. And a cruise has a lot to offer. If you've never been on one for whatever reason, you know, I definitely implore you to explore that. Just explore it, you know, just as something small, maybe a 2-day cruise or something of that effect or whatever. Just so you can kind of experience it and see what you like. I myself normally travel on Carnival. This episode is not, endorsed by or sponsored by Carnival, though it should be. Anywho, it was my first cruise, 2017. I went to the Bahamas, went to Nassau and Freeport. So it was pretty awesome. It was more of a family type trip there. Not really like a family reunion type thing, I guess. In some ways it was, in some ways it wasn't really. I don't know how to really describe it. It was, I guess it's someone like a family reunion thing. I don't know. But it was my first one. So those were the two places that I went to, and my fears instantly went away after the first day. So it was like, okay, I can't even feel the ship moving. I can't even, there's no rocking of the boat. You watch those old movies growing up, and you see the boat rocking and encountering storms and waves and pirates and aliens, and then Rihanna comes to save you. Just me? Okay. But your imagination runs away with you, basically. Your imagination runs away with you, and you're sitting there and you're like, I can't even feel the ship moving. So it allowed me, my fears, once they were put to rest, my mind began opening up to this itinerary of things that, the ship had planned or, had said that I could do or be a part of. And I'm like, man, I can go here. I was learning about art. I was going to little art exhibits and shows. I didn't buy any, of course. My pockets were not deep. They're still not deep. I can get maybe 2 knuckles in. 2 knuckles. I'm trying to get them deeper. Subscribe, to the podcast. So, it opened up my mind, though, and I'm going to comedy shows, comedians that I never heard of before, and they were hilarious. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, and they had, games and, DJ bashes and whatever sort of stuff. Point is, if I had allowed my fear to still have a control over my life, I never would have experienced that. If I wouldn't have taken out time for myself. Now, everyone's situation is different. Trust me, I understand. We all just can't say, oh, you know what, I'm just going to do this. But if you're working as hard as I believe that you are towards the purpose that I feel that you're here for, if you're putting yourself in a position to kind of be more than what you feel that you're doing right now, because you wanted that, because you wanted to be more and do more, and you looked around at your life and you were like, oh man, I've been working where I've been working for years and I don't feel fulfilled. If you've ever felt like that, then you've come to maybe an impasse. Yes, you guessed it. I'm using my SAT words, people. You come in an impasse where you're likely to decide or have to make a decision at some point. Is this my life? Is this? And I like I said, I normally just kind of, me personally, on a personal note, I'm still working. I'm still doing the 9 to 5, so to speak. But at least once a month, I take a few days out for myself. That is my me time, to reflect, to kind of put things in order that may have kind of gotten out of order, so to speak. Not really out of order, but I'm kind of like looking at things like, okay, what do I need to kind of organize or structure or something to that effect? What have I put off that I haven't been addressing? What do I need to catch up on, business-wise, things of that nature? So it's that time helps me to be a better me. It doesn't take anything away from, anything or anyone that is connected from me, because in the end run, in the long run, remember, life is a marathon. Oh my gosh, I got choked up. Life is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I know sometimes we can want to take shortcuts, and we can want to take, if I do this now, blase, but you have to start thinking long term. As any business or any type of corporation, like they do, they have short-term goals, and then they have long-term goals. Sometimes it may not mesh, true, but you have to kind of look at things from a long goal viewpoint, and that's going to definitely benefit you in the long run. Are you someone that is ready to strike out on their own and get their first apartment? You and your roommates are all ready and set to go to live the good life and pretty much get your life started? Or are you about to leave college and looking for a new place to live in the new city with your new degree? Well, guess what? There's a company called Credit Rent Boost that will allow you to get credit for the rent that you pay and get it reported to the credit bureaus. This will not only allow you to boost your credit, but also set you up long term, so when you are ready to make your first purchase as a homeowner. So give them a try. CreditRentBoost.com, and you can use promotion code OVM24522. It may be the best decision you ever made. So the long run, remember, life, keep that in mind. Life is a marathon, not a sprint. So when you have that me time, so when I have that me time, I feel more energetic. I feel less conducive to try to do something, because my time is no longer occupied by work, so to speak. Anything that I put myself into, me personally, whether it's this podcast, whether it's the YouTube channel, whether it's the business, it's still work, but I don't consider it work. Hopefully that makes sense. I don't consider it work. I consider it fun. I don't consider it a hobby by any means, but I consider it to be an extension of who I am as an individual. Like if I give 100% to anything that I'm a part of, I'm going to see it through the end, through to the end. I'm going to make sure that anything that I'm attached to has my attention to it. I try not to spread myself too thin. It's kind of hard to do. I don't know if it's because I'm a Capricorn, and Capricorns, oh my gosh, they're so energetic and, creative. I don't know. I like to be creative, so sometimes, I get a little too scatterbrained, and I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that. Bear with me on that if that comes across, but I'm trying to do better. But for me, that me time helps. And again, it doesn't take away from anyone else. It doesn't do anything. In fact, when I'm not working, air quotes there, when I'm not working, that allows me to be more engaged with, people around me. It also allows me to be more observant of what is going on around me, as far as, who is doing what. Maybe there's something that needs to be delegated as far as responsibility. Maybe there's something that needs to be addressed that maybe if I was working, I possibly would have missed had I not taken that time out for me. So that's just a little nugget there for that me time on how beneficial it can be. It helps you to be observant of what goes on around you. And that is very key and important. Have you ever thought of possibly starting your own podcast? Well, I can tell you firsthand, it can feel overwhelming if you don't know where to get started, and that's where Buzzsprout comes in. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch a professional podcast, already helping over 100,000 people launch their own podcasts. Buzzsprout will get your podcast into every major podcasting platform like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and more. You also will get a great-looking podcasting website and so much more. To start your own podcast and get a $20 Amazon gift card, follow the link in the show notes. This lets Buzzsprout know that we sent you and helps support our show. Buzzsprout, the easiest way to start a podcast. You will be surprised how, if at least once a month, or once every 2 months, or however much time that you feel that you need, to give yourself. You may say, well, Cypher, that's what the weekends are for. For most of us, yes, the weekends would be our downtime, would be our time to reflect or things of that nature. For me, it doesn't really work that way. For me, it doesn't work that way. It may work better for you. But this is, for me, it helps me to kind of, if the weekend works better for you, then awesome, great. Especially if maybe you're saving your vacation time for an actual vacation. Normally I plan something later on in the year, for myself, just simply because that is just a better time for me. Plus it just makes a lot more sense than trying to do something during the summer where everything is more expensive. It's more costly to do whatever. I'd rather plan ahead, at least minimum 6 months ahead, for something for myself versus trying to do something during the summer where everything is going to be astronomically high. And then what happens? You come back from doing whatever and you're right back in square one where you have little to no money. You had a good time for 2, 3, 4 days or whatever, but then guess what? I'm so broke. I have no money. I have nothing left. I'm this, I'm that. Then it's like, well, darn. Was the vacation really worth it if you went at a time that's more expensive? So, me personally, I'd rather do something later in the year. Maybe on those weekends, take a day trip somewhere to like the beach or just to another city or whatever, and just kind of look around, see some historical sites, whatever your me time is. Focus on adding that more consistently to your diet, so to speak. There's a lot of things that are part of what you do and who you are. And it may be hard at first to try to find time to, do something for yourself. And again, as I stated in the previous, in that episode 44, go check it out. It's okay to be selfish for you. As I stated, it may be hard to kind of find that time for yourself, but I feel that it is key to growth and development, in that when you are finding that time for yourself, you're going to be better because of it. You're not going to be as frazzled, because it's going to seem at some point, and it may already have started, that everyone else is having some sort of meditation moment or self-care moment. I use those days for myself as to do a mental and emotional checkup for me. I'm a big advocate for men's mental health, especially, but just for our overall emotional and mental health. Why? Because it is key for us to make sure that we are investing as much into ourselves as we do other people. And it's not a matter that they don't matter or they matter less. It's a matter of you loving yourself a little bit more. You have to love yourself a little bit more. And I'm not saying that you don't love yourself. And you could be one of those individuals that love yourself a lot. But in that time that you may go on a little excursion or a little trip for yourself, are you just focusing on having a good time, or are you focusing on, at least part of that time, just kind of reflecting on how you can get better? Because when you get better, people get better around you eventually. Depending on who's around you and whether or not they actually can see, any type of growth or anything such as that, or maybe some epiphany hits you and you're like, hey, I want to make sure I share this. So I wanted to share that with you, that me time is very important. Start including that in your diet, whether it's a day trip, If you want to say shopping, cool. Shopping, some lunch or brunch with a friend or a group of friends, and then kind of gauge, do like a temperature check of where you are in your own life. And then you'll come back stronger. Trust me, you'll come back stronger. You never know. But guys, I wanted to implore this on you. Definitely me time is important. And I appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the YouTube channel, The Real Cypher TV, all one word, A Tribe Called Quest. Say the whole thing. And as always, before you love anyone else, you must first love yourself. And I am out this thing. The Bronx Dawn. Cypher.
I will not lose. Let me tell you dudes what I do to protect us. Shoot at you actors like movie directors.